Hey, good morning, New Life Church. My name is Michael Hogue. I am from the Heber Springs campus. Hey, we're going to be continuing walking through the book of Jonah. We're going through it chapter by chapter, verse by verse. Today, we're actually going to be in chapter 2, verses 5 and 6. So if you would, let's go to the word. It says, I sank beneath the waves, and the waters closed over me. Seaweed wrapped itself around my head. I sank down to the very roots of the mountains. I was imprisoned in the earth, whose gates lock shut forever. But you, O Lord my God, snatched me from the jaws of death. So just to kind of understand what's happening, chapter 2, the entire setting, it all takes place in the belly of the fish. He'd already been swallowed by the fish. Chapter 2 is also one long prayer. And in this prayer, he's kind of talking about some of the things he's experiencing. And he's actually praising God. But what he's talking about in this moment, in verses 5 and 6, is what happened right before the fish came and swallowed him. And the thing about this is, in this moment, look, you know that God was going to save him. I know that God was going to save him. Jonah, when he was saying this, prayer, knew that God was going to save him. But in this moment, when he was sinking down to the depths, when it said that the seaweed was wrapped around his head, he had no idea what God was going to do. All he knew is that he was a prophet of the Lord. The Lord had told him to do something, and he literally ran the opposite direction. He boarded the ship, God sent a storm, and he was thrown overboard and then sinking down. And the thing about it, this is Jonah. This is a prophet of the God. This is a guy who is so clearly hearing from God and receiving instruction from God. But because of his choices, God put him in a literal storm, not the metaphorical storm that we always talk about, but also sent him to the depths of the ocean. Look, if there is one person in this entire story that's supposed to be getting it right, it's supposed to be Jonah, the person who knows God. The sailors, they didn't know God. The people of Nineveh, they didn't know God. And look, sometimes, here's the thing, when we're in a cave, it is of no fault of our own. Maybe somebody hurt us. Maybe somebody that was supposed to be there for us, that was supposed to protect us, that was supposed to love us. Maybe we had a loss and we're hurting and we're in this place and we're in the dark. And I think of David from 1 Samuel 22 when he was on the run from Saul and he was in a cave of no fault of his own. He didn't do anything to deserve that. But some of the times the cave that we experience is a direct result of some way that we fell short. It's a result of a mistake that we've made, something we've done, just like where Jonah finds himself right here. And in that moment with us, it's so easy to say, look, if there's anybody in my story that's supposed to know better, it's me. I know Jesus. I know what he did for me. I know what he asks of me. And here's the thing, I still failed. But if there is any time in this entire story of Jonah that Jonah gets it right, it's right here. We actually see this in the next verse, verse 7, where it talks about how he remembered the Lord and he cried out to him. Look, in the depths of the ocean, look, he didn't have light, he didn't have oxygen, but what he had was God. Look, he didn't know that God would spare his life, but he kept his eyes fixed on him. And he says he started to praise God. This makes me think of Psalm 51. Psalm 51 is the psalm that David wrote after he had committed adultery with Bathsheba. Now, I'm not going to read the whole psalm here. I would encourage you sometime throughout the day, find some time and open up Psalm 51. In this psalm, David is pleading to God for mercy. But what I love what he says in verse 17. Verse 17, David says, the sacrifice you desire is a broken spirit. You will not reject a broken and repentant heart, O God. Look, I don't know, maybe you're in a place right now where you're stuck because of something that you did. Like you hurt someone, you messed up. And here's the thing, I know I've been at that very placed before. Just like Jonah, you might feel like the whole world is caving in. Like he said, you feel like you have sank down to the roots of the mountains, imprisoned in the earth, and that the gates are locked forever. But here's the thing I want you to understand. God will not reject a broken and repentant heart. It doesn't matter how much you have messed up. God is a God of grace. God is a God of second chances. And it's in these moments where we need to not get stuck by the crushing weight of the depths, but to keep our eyes and our praise fixed on God. Love you, church. We'll see you tomorrow.